He has a radio, but he doesn't talk during the race, and he used to when I was younger. And I think I grew out of that. And you know how a father and son can be. Sometimes you can butt heads a little bit.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Massaro, and welcome to Cup Connection. This week, the series is ready to get down and dirty. Literally, it heads to Bristol for the annual dirt race in Thunder Valley. The half-mile racetrack is once again covered in Tennessee clay, and every driver would like to sculpt a masterpiece on it this Sunday. Perhaps no driver, though, is motivated more than Ryan Blaney. If you know anything about his family, then you absolutely know they are dirt racing royalty. Ryan's father, Dave, his uncle Dale, and grandfather Lou have combined for hundreds of sprint car victories on dirt. Ryan, though, has not had a lot of experience himself on that type of surface, but it's definitely in his DNA. Joining us now is Ryan Blaney. Ryan, hey, good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to see you too.
You know, I wanted to have you on this week specifically because of your family history on dirt. I mean, I know you don't have necessarily that same history as your father, but you've done pretty well on the dirt surface in Bristol, a couple of top 10 so far. So I would imagine you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am. It's funny. People, especially when we did the dirt race at Bristol, 3 years ago, everyone was like, "Oh, you have a ton of experience, don't you? You'll be ahead of the curve." I'm like, I didn't grow up doing any dirt. It's just my last name. But I have enjoyed it. And I feel like the event's gotten some really good, feedback from the fans. The drivers, I think, enjoy it. I think we've made big improvements from the first year. Last year we had it at night. The track prep was a little different, and I think it improved the racing a little bit. I hope it is the same for this year.
All right. So how did you avoid racing on dirt? I mean, you grew up in that environment and your family was great at it too.
Yeah. When I get asked that question, I feel like it was mainly location where I grew up. I'm from Ohio, but we moved down to North Carolina, when I was pretty young, and when Dad started racing on the Cup side, and that's just, around the North Carolina area, it's not really as big of a dirt world as, let's say, Ohio, Pennsylvania kind of area. So like my dad and my family did. So it was more asphalt late models. There was just a lot more opportunities there to get started on that side, and have a lot of people in good help to kind of teach me the ropes and have all that there conveniently. So I'm sure if I grew up in Ohio like my dad did, I would have went the dirt route and never know if I would have ended up in NASCAR or maybe stay in the dirt world. I don't know, but yeah, just location. And I've been fortunate to drive a lot of really cool vehicles, but not as much dirt experience as my family before me, but I have Dad to lean on for that. So that's good.
I was going to ask you, leaning on your dad, what type of advice, over the last couple of years has your dad been able to provide to you that you've been able to use at Bristol?
Yeah, so, he's been to both races. He'll be there this weekend at Bristol, and it's always nice to have him there, and kind of ask him some questions. He's really good at kind of seeing, a big part of the dirt race is, okay, how's the track changing? The track changes a lot more than an asphalt track. So he's really good at kind of seeing those little tendencies of the dirt track stuff, how it progresses through practice, and he just kind of gives me a little bit of a helping hand. This lane's getting slicker. Make sure you look out for this stuff. And it's just always nice to have those pointers from him.
Is he in your ear during the race? Does he have radio?
No, he has a radio, but he doesn't talk during the race. And he used to when I was younger. And I think I grew out of that. And you know how a father and son can be. Sometimes you can butt heads a little bit, but it's never really been the case with him, but he's, we get all our info and kind of conversation and communication, outside of the car that I can go and really think about and apply it.
It's interesting that you say you grew out of that. All right. So that's just kind of a euphemism, right? Because I have kids, and when my kids don't want to hear me talking, they don't say they grew out of it. They say, "Dad, I've heard enough," right? Pretty much.
I haven't had that one with my dad. I've always been too nervous to be like, "Okay, Dad, I've had enough," all that stuff. Because, I feel like it's always been helpful, and even on, away from the dirt race at Bristol, he's someone I've always been able to lean on and kind of talk to. He's usually the first phone call I make, either Sunday after the race, just to kind of vent about stuff, because that's the way it's always been between he and I. And, and I've always appreciated, growing up, my dad he's never been a sugarcoat kind of guy. He's always been a straightforward, I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong. I'm going to try to help you out. And I've always enjoyed that. I appreciate it. If I'm doing something wrong and you're sugarcoating it or beating around the bush, I don't know if how are you going to learn? So I've always liked that about my dad. And everyone's different. Everyone, takes criticism different ways. But I've always liked the straightforward approach. Tell me if I'm messing up so I can fix it right away. And if you don't tell me that, I'm going to keep messing up just because you don't know if you're doing anything wrong, sometimes subconsciously. So he's always been there for me to help out. And, even though I've gotten older and have, a lot of experience on the cup side, I've never been, one to shy away from always kind of getting his advice on a lot of stuff.
All right. So let's talk about what it has actually been like on the dirt surface. What is it like driving a big, heavy cup car on that surface?
Yeah, it's different. That's for sure. And maybe my lack of dirt experience kind of helps me for this style because, maybe you're not relying on other dirt cars you've driven, a sprint car or a dirt late model. They're all way different than these big, heavy cup cars with a pretty narrow tire, and they just drive differently. So, they are tough. They are tough to kind of slide around, and they change a lot when the track conditions are tacky. They're hard to kind of get sideways and pointed around the corner. But when it's slick, there's no tire to really grip up anything. So it's really slick when the track slicks off. So that's one of those things. I feel like everything's just kind of amplified a little bit with these cars that aren't built for dirt racing. You really have to kind of manipulate them a little bit more, I feel like, than your natural dirt car, just because they're not built for that. And they don't, we're boxed in with the setups we can run. So you have to be able to kind of figure out ways to move your car around and change your driving style around to really, be able to give the car what it needs. But like I said, I think everyone's, especially now, we have a lot of experience on it, a few races in to where everyone's kind of getting a better idea of it. And you can see it as the races have gone on. The first race, there were guys really struggling. I was one of those guys. And then the second year, everyone had a better idea. And I think this year, the field's going to be even tighter because everyone is experienced in it. And, we're all going to be ready to go right away and know what to expect.
And, we've mentioned your top tens there. Penske Racing as a whole has been pretty strong. Your teammate, Joey Logano, has a victory there. I think he was third in the other race as well. I mean, it sounds like your organization's got a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah, we've done a good job as a team, as a whole, to kind of have a decent idea. We have a good amount of dirt racers on the Penske side, so they're always willing to give their knowledge. Guys who have owned dirt late models and crew chief, and they're always really excited for this race because it brings them back to their childhood and kind of what they grew up doing and loved. So it's something that we should definitely be proud of. Hopefully we have some cars that can go compete and have the speed, and we'll find out on Friday when we finally get on track.
How about sitting in that seat trying to see through that windshield? What's that like?
Yeah, luckily the track isn't super muddy to where it really cakes the windshield. We had that issue maybe one time in the last couple of years. Mainly it's the grills that kind of get caked up, and you have to be careful of that and overheat. But it actually isn't as bad as I thought. We put some very slick material on the windshields to try to make sure nothing sticks to them. But it is tough, because we're so, dirt racing, you're kind of looking to the right, while you're kind of pitched sideways. So it's opposite of asphalt racing. You're always kind of looking a little to the left. So you're kind of having to switch up a little bit of your eye line. But the windshields aren't too bad. That was something we were really nervous about going there. And fortunately, it hasn't been too much of an issue, knock on wood. But yeah, it is a little bit different having a windshield in there. And we've talked about taking the windshields out, to be honest with you. What can we do to take these windshields out? But we haven't really gotten there yet. But fortunately, it hasn't put too much of a problem on us.
Well, the good news is it's definitely a safety aspect. You don't want all that debris and dirt coming in the cockpit. So in that sense, it's certainly a good thing. Hey, big picture, how do you look at the year so far?
Yeah, it's been an okay year. We've been in contention, maybe a couple races where I felt like we've had decent speed and we haven't been able to really execute like we should to really compete for the win. We've had a rough couple weeks. The last 2 weeks at Coda and Richmond just can't really seem to get anything right. But that's racing. You're going to have ups and downs, and it's how you kind of rebound from the down end. I think that's really important. So, and the good thing is every week's a new week, and you can forget about the previous week, good or bad. You're always focusing forward. So we'll try to get over this hump that we're in right now. And no better place to do it than Bristol Dirt.
Hey, Ryan, before I let you go, I know you're involved in the fight against Alzheimer's. I just want to get your perspective on why you felt like it was important to get involved in that campaign.
Yeah. When we started our foundation in 2018, you're always thinking about, okay, and that thing's in the works for, years beforehand and before you kind of put it in motion. And we wanted to support a cause that we had a personal connection with. And my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and it was really rough to watch him go through that. And, it is for everybody, family members watching their loved ones go through it. And obviously the person who is going through it, it's a tough disease. And, there's not a lot of kind of knowledge about it as far as, a cure, things like that, where it kind of stems from. We're getting to that point. But yeah, we've worked with the Alzheimer's Association from the beginning. They're great people. They've really been a treat to work with. And I've learned so much about the disease working with those folks and kind of understanding, the best ways for, families to deal with it and cope with it and make sure that, their loved one who's affected by it is as comfortable as they can be in their situation. So, we just wanted something we had a personal tie with. And like I said, they've been great. We've actually got to work with UPMC also, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. They deal a lot with brain health, concussions. So between those two organizations, we're really focused on the brain health side of things. And, you hope you're making a difference. You hope you're helping out the best you can. And, we're looking forward to this year, our charity event in May. So it's coming up very soon before the 600. To keep at it, whether it's raising funds, raising awareness, getting people to help out, in these hospitals and in these centers that, kind of focus on that. So, it's the least we can do. You always want to try to help people. And when you have a personal tie with it too, it makes you want to help them even more.
And there's so many families that have been affected by it, Ryan. It's just countless. It really is. How can fans out there help out?
Yeah, you can go to the Brian Blaney Family Foundation website to get some information. There's a link there to the Alzheimer's Association website and the UPMC website as well. So if you want to learn about it, you'll find all the information on there. If you want to help out, there's links on the foundation website to do that. It was actually really neat. At Richmond, the Alzheimer's Association was on my gloves, and we were able to auction those off. So that was really neat. A little fundraiser, and someone will get a chance to have my race-worn gloves from Richmond. So that's always kind of those fun little things that we can do to that on the back end also helps out, the cause.
Well, I hope people do get involved. Ryan, hey, thank you again for your time. We appreciate you being here, and best of luck on the dirt.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Good talking to you.
Well, if karma can assist Blaney's work to raise money to fight Alzheimer's, it certainly can't hurt. Of course, performance and dirt racing experience will be the ultimate factors. And with that in mind, perhaps this weekend's favorite is Kyle Larson. He not only carries momentum from his Richmond win, but Larson is one of the most skilled and experienced dirt racers in the field. He's won repeatedly on dirt and sprint car races around the country, and he finished fourth at Bristol last year. Then, of course, there's Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe, both very experienced on dirt themselves. And remember last year, the two battled for the win until the final lap when Briscoe slid up into Reddick. They both spun, and that opened the door for Kyle Busch to pick up the win. Busch could again have a shot this year, but he's not alone. Joey Logano won the inaugural Bristol dirt race and is the only driver who has finished inside the top 5 in both dirt races held there. Well, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching Cup Connection, and enjoy the race.